A Bookworm's Journey in the Cardinal World. Tensura X Ascendance of a Bookworm by Galaxycharmer123. 1 Preparations Ferdinand's POV. I was nursing a pounding headache, courtesy of Sylvester, the current OB and my half-brother. He had given me the unenviable task of establishing trade relations with Tempest. Go to Tempest, he'd said, as if it were as simple as visiting a neighboring duchy. Unfortunately, our duchy follows the Luminism faith, whose core tenet is to exterminate monsters and avoid contact with them at all costs. Templar Knights, along with our own, guard the border with the Jura forest, making it impossible to use that route without attracting attention and putting our duchy in jeopardy. The only other options were Dwargon or Blumend. But Dwargon, being a nation of dwarves, was also out of the question. Our knights would recognize me there in an instant, given their preconceptions against anything remotely connected to monsters. That leaves Blumend as the only viable option. To ensure this mission's success, I would need to consult Baron Veliard and Fuse, the guild master, to gather more information about Rimuru, the leader of the monsters. I quickly began making preparations, contacting my knight guard and merchant connections about the journey. Fortune smiled upon me in the form of Myne, an otherworlder who seemed to share a homeland with Rimuru. Her presence would be invaluable, especially in understanding their language, traditions, and tenets. However, I couldn't afford to be too forceful. Rimuru was known to command a variety of powerful monsters, and provoking them would be a death sentence. This mission was truly headache-inducing. Arno, call Myne to meet me. There's something I need to discuss with her, I ordered. As you wish, Arno replied before quickly leaving the room. Moments later, Myne entered, dressed in her apprentice shrine maiden robes. Head priest, you called for me? Myne asked, her demeanor respectful yet curious. Imagine this, but pure white instead of the usual blue. Credit goes to https www. Pixiv. Net in artworks 87,322,548. I handed her a magic tool, designed to prevent eavesdropping. Myne, you'll be accompanying me on a very secret mission. Inform your parents that one of them can come to watch over you along with your sister. Benno and Lutz will also be coming, but don't breathe a word of this to anyone, I insisted. Is it about Tempest, head priest? Myne inquired, her eyes bright with curiosity. Yes, I confirmed with a nod. Understood, she replied, though her eyes held a tinge of sadness. She wasn't fond of nobles, and I understood where she was coming from. The head bishop literally tried to kill her parents and enslave her, but he walked out scot-free. Thank you, Myne. Your presence is crucial to this task. Failure is not an option. This is a direct order from the OB, and only a few people know about it. If we're caught, we're as good as dead. Understood? I emphasized, watching her closely. Understood, sir, she responded, straightening her back, though her eyes still reflected resignation. I softened my tone slightly, hoping to lift her spirits. Also, this mission could save your life. I've heard that they sell magic tools in Tempest that could prolong your life. Consider this an opportunity for yourself. I will, head priest, Myne said, her gaze now determined. Good. Begin your preparations, and I will do the same. Of course. Good day, head priest. As Myne left, I began my own preparations for the journey to Tempest. The weight of the task was heavy on my shoulders, but there was no turning back now. Myne's POV. After my discussion with Ferdinand about our upcoming mission to Tempest, I couldn't deny the fear gnawing at my insides. But the prospect of acquiring a magic tool that could prolong my life without becoming a noble's servant or wife, like Frida had suggested, gave me a glimmer of hope. I would do everything in my power to ensure I could spend more time with my family. I made my way home to the southern district, surprising my mother with my unexpected visit. What happened? Weren't you supposed to be at the church? My mother asked, concern etched on her face. I have something very important to discuss. It could literally prolong my life if all goes well, I said, my voice firm with determination. Really, we should inform Gunther then, she suggested, her face lighting up with hope. No need, Mom. I'll tell everyone during dinner tonight, I reassured her, already thinking about my next move. I need to visit Benno to discuss our plans. Before I could leave, Thule stood up, her expression resolute. Wait, take me with you, she insisted. You're sickly, Myne and Lutz can't always be with you. I'm going with you. Whether you like it or not, Tuli declared, her tone leaving no room for argument. I tried to protest, but her determination won out. Okay, big sister. Thank you, I said, genuinely touched by her protective instinct. Be careful out there and come back before dinner, our mother called after us as she began preparations for our trip. With Tuli and Lutz by my side, I headed to Benno's shop in the central plaza, my mind swirling with thoughts on how to break the news to him. I didn't have a favorable view of monsters. They were mindless beings that attacked without reason. How could I trust beings like that? We arrived at Benno's shop, and I asked Mark to inform Benno of our arrival. I told Tuli and Lutz to stay back since this was a highly confidential meeting. They protested at first, but when I mentioned that nobles were involved, they reluctantly agreed. Inside, Benno greeted me with his usual gruffness. Myne, what is it now? I'm busy, he said, clearly irritated. It's something extremely confidential, and I don't want to discuss it without privacy, I replied, my serious tone catching him off guard. Seeing the determination in my eyes, Benno led me into a private room. Once we were alone, he asked, what's going on? The OB has ordered us to go to Tempest to establish trade relations. It's a highly confidential mission, and we must do it discreetly, I explained. Benno's reaction was one of utter shock. He had heard rumors of goods arriving from Tempest and had considered indirect trade, but he never imagined the OB would involve him directly. When do we leave? He asked, his voice tinged with resignation. In 1 week. One of my parents and my sister will be coming, along with the head priest and his attendants, I informed him, feeling a pang of sympathy for the merchant. All right. I'll make the necessary preparations to travel through Bloomend, Benno sighed, already accepting the challenges ahead. I have some contacts that will come in handy, but we'll need to disguise ourselves, he added. No problem. This is a discreet mission, after all, I agreed. With that, I left Benno's shop and returned home, where my father had just arrived. We discussed the mission, and my mother volunteered to accompany us, given that my father's face was too well known in the lower city to go unnoticed. My father protested, but eventually relented, urging me to take care of myself and search for a cure for my devouring condition in Tempest. Benno's paw. My anxiety levels spiked after hearing what Myne had to say. Establishing trade with Tempest was no small feat. The first hurdle was avoiding monster attacks. Without Templar knights to protect us, we were vulnerable. Second, we needed to prepare a large amount of rations for a journey that could last 2 to 3 weeks. And third, there was no guarantee of success. Tempest might reject us outright, leaving us with nothing to show for our efforts. Mark, I'll be leaving for 2 months, starting 1 week from now. You'll be in charge of the shop in my absence. Also, prepare yourself for the possibility that I might not return, I informed him, my voice heavy with the weight of the task. Understood, sir, Mark replied with a nod, fully grasping the gravity of the situation. I'll also be bringing Lutz with me, so prepare 3 inconspicuous carriages, I instructed, steeling myself for the journey ahead. As you wish, sir. The next few days were a whirlwind of preparations, barely managing to pull everything together in time. Ferdinand Sama's assistance with monetary matters was invaluable, and I was finally ready to depart. Third-person pod. The week passed quickly, and the group was ready for what could be their final journey. Ferdinand brought his knight Eckhart and scholar Justice, while Benno brought Lutz. Myne, accompanied by her mother and sister, completed the group. They set off towards Tempest, passing through the guard post where Benno identified them as merchants on their way to Bloomend. The guard, with Gunther's vouchers, allowed them to pass, and they continued on their way. Little did they know that this journey would set off a chain of events that would change their lives forever. They were about to witness history in the making and learn the hard way why you should never underestimate the wrong people.